Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Melanie Johnson. In case you haven't met me yet, I'm one of the owners of Elite Online Publishing, and this is the co-founder and owner, Jen Foster, that's here with me.
Hey everyone, how's it going today? I'm really excited about our webinar today.
Oh my gosh, we are going to teach you so much about marketing. I know a lot of authors come to us and they're struggling with book marketing. How do I market my book? I don't know what to do. What's the first thing I should do? Where should I post on social media? Should I have a blog? Should I not have a blog? And then you get overwhelmed. I don't know if any of you get overwhelmed, but we have authors that come to us, are like, I'm just so overwhelmed with the whole thing. So we want to help you today to eliminate the overwhelm, give you some direction, teach you some of our inside secrets that we use for authors. And by the way, things change all the time, right? So, I mean, now there's AI, there's all these new tools that are happening. So we're going to teach you some of those that we have learned and we're embracing now. So you may not have even heard of these things before, but we want to dive deep and really give you some good training today. We want you to walk away that you feel like you have action items, things that you can do, and you have clarity on your marketing. And we're here to help. We're here to help you. We help our authors all the time. We have marketing packages. We'll offer one today if you're interested. But the most important thing is that we empower you. You know, Jen and I aren't here because it's a job or it's just a career. We are on a mission to help authors become successful and really share their stories with everybody else and leave a legacy to the world and change the world with their stories. So, you know, we didn't all start out perfect in doing what we're doing, and we all have a journey of learning skills and learning how to market. Jen, why don't you share your story? I remember when you started out trying to figure out marketing.
Yeah, so just like a brand new author, I was a brand new business owner, and my former husband and I started a company. So we had retail kiosks in the mall selling watches, and we really needed to get people to come to our store, right? So how do we do that? So I had to start navigating how does that work? And I really loved computers, so I've always been on computers. I had a Amiga, if you're old enough to remember Amiga. Before Apple was huge, Amiga was right in there playing around with Microsoft, competing between Microsoft and Apple. But I had an Amiga and I played games and it was so much fun. So I always loved computers. And I kind of played around a little bit on the computer and I thought, hey, I'm going to build a website for our company. But, you know, I didn't know how to build a website. So I had to learn. So I took some classes. I took a small HTML web design class and with the community called what is it called, like the community outreach program here with the school. And then I also took a Photoshop class because I was like, I'm gonna need to know how to edit pictures if I'm gonna be doing web design, because web design, you got to know pictures, right? And so I built the website, learned how to do that. It all looked beautiful. And then there was a problem. How do I get people to the website, right? Like, hey, we have this website. Oh, okay. Well, you can print business cards and hand out business cards everywhere you go, and then people can come to your store because they'll see your location and see your website on the bottom of the business card. But that's just word of mouth advertising, right? Like it works, but you have to really work really hard at it, right? And so then I decided I would learn online marketing. So online marketing changes all the time. And that's how it is with books and authors and Amazon. And, you know, I was overwhelmed, stressed, just like an author. I didn't know where to begin, but I decided to start training, start learning, start finding people who I could count on who would teach me what I needed to know about online marketing. And, you know, the rest actually has developed into this company, which is really cool. But, you know, I didn't know anything about search engines or SEO, which is search engine optimization, but I had to learn it. So I had to learn, how do I get the website ranked? Oh, well, you do this with a video. Okay, let me learn how to do this video. Okay, then I'm going to put the video on the top of a Google search, like all these different things I had to do. And then guess what happens I think it was after like 3 years of me doing this, I started selling to other companies and having a marketing agency. And then Google was like, we're not going to do videos top of Google search anymore, right? So they changed what they were doing. And then I had to learn and pivot and learn something else, because now when I was ranking #1 videos on Google, Now they have a video tab and no one knows to click the video tab. So there's no more videos on the top of
And that's
Google.
so true. You know, things change all the time, but you did the work. You have to either put the work in, right? Either you have to figure it out yourself and spend the time and train it yourself, or you've got to find experts to help you to do it, to transition. So, there's that frustration. Jen had all that frustration of, oh my gosh, how do I do this? Like I learned how to do it, but then, oh my gosh, I have to keep learning more. And now it's changing.
Right. Well, and then not only the videos, but then you also had to learn social media marketing. So Facebook was just new back then. I had a MySpace account and that was kind of fun. That was more personal stuff. But then Facebook was like, yeah, I'm dating myself. But then Facebook was like, oh yeah, like you can have business pages. You don't have to have personal. So let's do business pages. You can promote your business. So I started learning about that and just learning everything I could about marketing, about social media marketing, video marketing. And I see a lot of people are listening to me right now. Comment in the comments if you had a MySpace account because I want to know. and comment if you started out, back in the day with just a personal Facebook, or if you also had a business Facebook.
Yeah.
So because you really just had to learn it all, right?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And so we all feel like we're kind of struggling, right? And I would love in the comments, what are your biggest struggles when it comes to marketing your book or even your business? What are you struggling with the most? And I can relate to what Jen is saying too, because when I started out, there was no Airbnb. VRBO had just come on, and I decided to turn my 2 homes into rentals. Someone gave me the idea, but only real estate agents did that at the time. And they told me, oh, you can never rent those houses. They're just too big. They're too expensive. But you know what really saved me was a friend of mine had his house on VRBO. And so I was struggling to write the content. How do I describe these houses? I just felt, there was no ChatGPT or AI to help me along the way or anything. So he gave me the content. He said, listen, I paid writers a bunch of money, like $5,000 to do my description for my house. He goes, just take that, copy it, and just implement and make it for your house instead. So it was kind of like I had this template that made it so much easier. And if I would have had someone that would have written it for me, would have been even easier to do it. But, my palms were sweating. My head was circling. Every time I'd go to do it, I would stop. I'd be like, all right, I'll come back and do this later. And I don't know if you feel the same way. Like you're trying to figure out your marketing. You're saying, all right, I'm going to post on social media. And then you just don't, because you don't know what to post. You don't know how many times to post. You don't know really what your brand message is. And that's how I felt when I was doing my houses. But, I did figure it out. I was like Jen. I went and educated myself. I got people to help me that had been there before and done that before. And then I sold out the entire summer of my house, renting my house. So that's kind of what we're here for you. We have the experience. We know how to do it. We've been in the trenches, and guess what? We stay in the trenches all the time. So we want to try and make your life easier by doing it. We've had the sweat on the back of our necks and the sweaty palms and the frustration in our head of how to do that. We've walked that walk before. And so we're here to give you the latest of what we know and use our professional and expertise to teach you today of, some of these strategies that are going on. And I would love to see in the chat, what are your biggest challenges for your marketing? What are you struggling with the most?
Yeah. And I'm sure most of you, if you're new authors or if you haven't written a book yet, you know nothing about marketing a book, right? Just like I knew nothing about marketing a store and Melanie knew nothing about marketing her rental property. So, but after we've learned, then now we know how to use social media. We know how to get noticed, and we can apply what we learned, and we can teach you and teach others how to do this. So we want to dive in and start teaching you how to market your book.
Yep. So today we're going to talk about developing a clear and compelling brand message that's going to resonate with your audience, not somebody else's audience, your ideal audience. Choosing the right platforms. That can be questionable. People don't know, should I post everywhere? Where should I post? We're going to teach you about creating content that's going to capture attention and drive engagement for you. We're going to teach you about optimizing all your profiles and, some of the posting strategies and things that we've learned. So let's kick it off by talking about doing a whole analysis of your brand and you as an author. Jen, why don't you jump into that?
Sure. Yeah, so we offer this to our authors now and to authors who come to us, which is an author book analysis. And what that is really me going and looking at your book on Amazon and seeing if you have optimized all the real estate that Amazon gives you. Because Amazon gives you an amazing page full of, this is your book sales page, by the way. It has your book on it. It has your book description. It has a place for your testimonials. So I'll just kind of walk down the page. So the first thing you see is your book, and the book's on the left-hand side. So your cover is there for your Kindle or your paperback or your hardback. And then you have your title and subtitle. So I look at that first, because if you don't have a keyword loaded title and subtitle, you might consider wanting to do a second edition so you can change that title. Because, for instance, like a fiction book, we had an author whose the name of the book was called Sky Heist, and if you just did Sky Heist by itself, he wouldn't get that many people finding his book, because that's kind of a made up word. It's not, I mean, it's one word, and it's two words put together, but not that many people are going to know what that book is about. So if we put in the subtitle an aviation thriller, now he's going to get people finding his book. They're going to know, oh my gosh, this is a thriller book. Oh, this is going to be drama. This is going to be about flying. This is going to be, about aviation. So now all these keywords are coming up. Then I look at your underneath that, which is your description. And your description really needs to be optimized to have a lot of keywords in it. Mm-hmm. And the keywords aren't just like, hey, I think they might say this, or I think this might be a keyword. It's actually researching what the keywords are that what people put into Amazon search, right? Because Amazon is a search engine, just like Google. So people search things, whether you're searching for a blender or a book or whatever you're searching for, right? Amazon is a store. You can buy anything. So we want to make sure that your description also has keywords in it, and that it has bullet points and it has bold text, and it's really optimized to the best. If it's just one block paragraph, and by the way, if one paragraph only, you're not really using the real estate, right? You really want like 3 paragraphs and some bullet points in the middle. Like for nonfiction books, you want to definitely have like, here's what you're going to learn. Boom, 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 right? Because you've got people who read, you got people who don't read, they scan, right? So some people don't even read the description. They just look at the cover. Do I want to buy this book? Then they jump to the reviews. What did they say about this book, right? So you definitely will be looking at all that. So that's all part of the book analysis. And then I jump down to the next space, which is something new that Amazon just started called A+ content. And A+ content is just Amazon Plus, like it means Amazon Plus content. And it's where the publisher can actually add. So if you're self-published, you can do this yourself, or the publisher, if you have a publisher, or if you're working with someone like us, we can add your A+ content. And what it is pictures and text, and it will say from the publisher, and you can have really nice graphic images. If it's a fiction book, we like to do the cover in like separate tiers. Nonfiction books, we can have quotes, we can have endorsements. There's lots of different things you can do on A+ content, and it looks really beautiful. And then underneath the A+ content, you have editorial reviews. So these are different than the reviews that people go and leave on Amazon. So you definitely want to have editorial reviews. And these editorial reviews can be added by your publisher. They can be added by you if you're self-published. And so these editorial reviews usually have credentials. That's what editorial means. So if you get a review from someone who's a doctor or someone who is has a title, so it has their name and then what they do. So that's kind of what the editorial reviews are. And feel free to be asking any questions here. Put in the comments. I can see your comments. So let me know if you have any questions about the author book analysis. But so far, we've only been talking about your book page on Amazon, right? So just optimizing it all the way through. And then, of course, I look at your categories and at what Amazon puts you in. It's kind of like what section of Amazon are they going to put you in? Like, are they going to put your book in basket weaving? I hope not, unless your book's about basket weaving, right? Are they going to put your book in, self-help? Are they going to put your book in thriller? Like, what are the categories for your book? So I also look at that for your book analysis. And then I go and click on your name. So at the very top of the page, you have the author name, and it's clickable. I don't know if you know that, but what happens when you click it is if you have claimed an Amazon author page, it goes to your Amazon author page. If you have not claimed your Amazon author page, it just goes to a list of books. Now, it could be a list of books that you publish if you publish more than one, or it could be a list of books that are similar to yours. So someone might click on your name to read more about you, and you haven't claimed your author page, and then you have a list of all these other books that are similar to yours, and then they go and buy someone else's book, right? So we want to make sure that you have your author page claimed. And then your Amazon author page is another page that we look at and analyze to see if it's optimized correctly. And with that, you really just have an amazing profile picture, one that's a headshot, one that is a headshot, meaning I was just telling someone about how to do headshots, and you got to have your shoulders in your headshot. If it's just your face, like if it's just this, it doesn't look good. I don't know if you can see me, but I've cleared it. So, just your face is not going to look good. You want to have bust up, think of like Mozart on your top of your piano. It's a bust, right? So you want to have your shoulders in it. So you want to have your shoulders. So that's your profile picture. And then you want to have an optimized bio. Your autobiography, your bio, your biography, it is who you are, what you do, why you're different than other people, and not just about like your job and not just about your authorship. It's more than that. So we really look at your bio and make sure it's optimized. And then under your bio, you want to have links. And these links are to your social media, to your website, anywhere you want them to go. If you have courses, all those things. So this is just like 2 aspects of that author analysis. And I haven't even got into Goodreads yet. So I don't know if you want me to keep going, but there's a lot to it, right? And so if you're self-published or if you're hiring someone like us, you really need someone who knows what they're doing to make sure that you're using all the real estate that Amazon's giving you. Because that's what's going to show up on the first page of Google search. When someone types in your name or your book, it's going to be your book page and your author page.
So let's kind of unpack and review what you did so far, because that was a lot. And I know there's
a lot,
right? So I don't want everyone's like, I'm taking notes. So I just want to go through this. So Jen was saying you have to have a subtitle. So whether your book is, most nonfiction books have a subtitle, but your fiction book also needs a subtitle because it has more keywords in it and people are going to understand where your book is and to find it. And then I've seen books out there that have like 3 or 4 sentences for their book description. So we're saying don't do that. Have a really robust full book description with bullet points. And the reason the bullet points are is because people scan today. They're not going to read all of this stuff necessarily. So we want to have it spaced out and we want to have these bullet points where they can just look at what are the benefits I'm going to get from reading your book. So give me the top 4 or 5 things that if I read this book, like the problems you're going to solve for me and the benefits I'm going to get, right? So it might even be like, hey, are you struggling to lose weight? Learn the 3 ways that make your life easier to lose 10 pounds in a month without even trying, So that's kind of what you want in there. And then A+ content. So this is new. So if you're searching books, I don't know, Jen, maybe we can throw one of our authors' links in the chat so they can look it up and see what A+ content is. And one of the advantages of this A+ content that we found, if you're looking at a book on a phone, I mean, everybody, I would say the majority of people are using this, right, to search nowadays. It used to be your laptop, but it's really the phone. And in some cases, if you're on the app, Amazon doesn't let you see the preview of the book, but they'll show you the A+ content. So you want little blurbs in there, beautiful graphics, like Jen said. And then there's the editorial review. So make sure you get people that are credible. And they're like, well, authors say, well, who do I get for an editorial review? I don't understand that. So it could be anybody who has credentials in that field that you're writing about, or maybe not even in the field. I use a restaurateur here in Houston, did a business book, right? And he was saying, oh, I love this book. But he's a businessman, but he's in the food business and it had nothing to do with the book on the leadership necessarily. So it's just having someone who has credibility. And how many of those? We get the question, how many editorial reviews should we have? I like to see 3. Some people only get 1 or they get 2. That's okay. But if you can get 3, that's even better. So I don't know if you have that question. Categories, we do. Oh, go ahead, Jen.
I was going to say 3 to 5 because
yeah,
it looks really good especially if you're on a book. And maybe you've seen this on Amazon when you're on a book and you're scrolling down and then they have like review, and it's all the editorial reviews. Then you get down to the actual Amazon reviews, and it just looks really, really nice. So
and we
3 to 5.
Yeah, and we talk about search. So even if someone is searching their name on Amazon, your book may come up because it's in the editorial review. So it's about that search engine again, right? That we're talking about. And when we work with our authors, we do in-depth things with this. When you work with us, we're going really deep in this and coaching you through all this. And you may give us names of people. What do you think about this person for editorial review? And when authors work with us, they're like, oh my gosh, you just lit a fire went off in my brain. I just talked to Carmine Guglio yesterday, who does the Hollywood Walk of Fame. And we were brainstorming. He's like, oh my gosh, Melanie, you just put a whole aha moment in my brain of all these people that I can contact. So, it's having that person to go back and forth with. And then, the Amazon author page and the Goodreads page, one of the reasons it's so important is if you leave it blank, it's not going to show up. So remember, show up when they're searching on Google. So think of this as that you pay for SEO for your website, right? You're trying to get your website to show up. But when you publish a book, Amazon is working for you. They have the strongest SEO, search engine optimization, on the planet. So if you're creating that author page, when we work with our authors to make sure this page is connected to all their books and has all the links in it, then guess what? Then now you not only have one thing that comes up from Amazon when they're searching your name or book, you have two things that are showing up usually on the first page. So how much would you pay to show up twice on the first page of Google? Right? How much would you pay for that? So make sure that you do that. And that's also with Goodreads as well. When you fill out that Goodreads page, that's going to show up too. So think of having 3 new things coming up at the top of search that you're not paying extra for just because you use the real estate. All right, Jen, I know you have the second half. I just had to unpack and review all that in case you had more notes and you could rewrite down everything.
Yeah. Well, we kind of went through pretty much all of the book analysis. And then we didn't really get into Goodreads, but there's lots of tutorials. Goodreads has really good help, or you can always come to us and we can claim your author profile on Goodreads and fill that out and optimize that. Yeah. But next I want to kind of talk about websites. Now, if you're an author and you don't have a website, I'm going to tell you need a website because you need another place for people to go, especially if you have products and services that go with your book. If you're a nonfiction book and you're using your book to build your business and to brand you, then you need a website so that you can show, here's my book, here's me, and then here's what I offer. Here's my services, here's my products, here's my courses, or whatever you're selling, right? You've got to have that website so that it can brand you. And someone might say, well, I don't need it. I don't want to have to maintain it. Well, if you want to be big time, if you want to be selling stuff, you got to have a website. And along with that website is blogs. So people will always come to me and say, should I blog? Should I not blog? How many times should I blog? How long should the blog be? Like there's all these questions, right? So if you have a website, and I prefer WordPress, we have used Wix before, which is a self-publishing website developer, Wix. I used to be a Wix Pro designer and I got a lot of my clients from Wix, which is really fun. But Wix is a great builder to do yourself. It's not very good for SEO. I'm just going to say that right now. WordPress is better to optimize your website to be found. So I would go with WordPress, but both of them have blog capabilities. And if you have any other platforms, I don't recommend them, but especially what is it? The one I hate the most. No, I don't hate it. It's GoDaddy Builder, GoDaddy Website Builder. It's awful. Don't try it. It's not good. Anyways, so you want to have a blog. And this blog, you want to be consistent. So no matter how many you have per month, you want to be consistent. So if you got to commit, that's the number one step. So if you say, I'm going to have a blog on my website, then you have to commit to writing that blog. So whether you say 1 a month or 2 a month or 4 a month, whatever the number is, you have to be consistent. And the reason why is because this is the new content that Google is going to search, all the little spiders that are crawling your website, to see that you have new relevant content on your website, which then boosts your website up on the Google search when people are searching. So you want to have consistency. And then that blog post, you definitely want to have a good blog post. You don't want it to be just a paragraph or a picture. Like a lot of people will do the vlogs, the video blogs. And those are great too, if you do a video. but you'll want to transcribe it so you have text on the page too. You don't want to have just a video only or just a picture only. Like it's got to have some meat to it, right? So I would suggest committing, if you're going to do a blog, commit to how many you're going to do per month, and then writing it and then making sure that it has other elements besides just the text, right? So a picture of you, or a video of you, or those types of things. I would say 1,000 words to 1,500 words. Now, the good news is that in December, we have artificial intelligence working for us now. So it's really easy to write a blog using artificial intelligence. But you also want, if you are going to be using AI or Chat GPT to write your blogs, you really want to make sure that you're editing those. Don't just copy and paste it straight from Chat GPT and put it in your blog, because Google's going to know that that was artificial intelligence and was not you, right? So you definitely want to do it. And I've even been playing around with Chat GPT, and I would say, write this in the style of Jen Foster. And guess what it did? It said, I'm writing in the style of Jen Foster from Elite Online Publishing, and then it wrote the blog. So it totally knew who I was because I have a good profile out there. But I still had to take it and edit it and change it to my own words and move things around and make it mine. So make sure you're doing that. We have a question here from Paul Rockman. He says, for a memoir, what is the website that I should, or what should the website contain? And that's a very good question, because if you have a memoir and you have a website, it would be your author website. You would be promoting your book, but it would really just be branding you, right? So if you don't have any products and services to sell, then you would just be branding the book and selling the book. So that's what I would just focus all on, selling the book and having like an opt-in. So, you know, right when people come to the page, you have something that you can give them that's an add-on or an addition to the book, like sign up for this and you'll get my free PDF or my free video. So definitely having that call to action on there, and then just more about you. And you could do a blog if you wanted and just kind of do, you know, about you and about your past and history, because there's always more stories than what's in the book, right?
I would suggest, Paul, because with your memoir, make sure you have a place to buy bulk books. So this goes for any author, right? So on your website, you should have a place where people can buy more than one. And then we show our authors, like, here's a whole discount recommendation of how you should discount your book based on how many that they buy. So you can order author copies. We offer a concierge service to our authors, so we do all the ordering for them, but you can go into your account and order the books. And then if you get people that are wanting to buy thousands of books, then you can go to resources in China or places like that to get them for a much cheaper price. The other thing with a memoir, keep in mind, you know, you say, oh, I don't have any products and services. But if you're talking about your life and you have life lessons, you can use that as a speaking platform. So I would also suggest all of our authors have a place that they can book them to get speaking gigs. So you should have a place to buy your book, right? Number one, to do bulk buying of your book, and then create a speaking platform that people can hire you to speak. And if you're a little nervous about that and you don't know how to speak, we have a whole speaker's kit and speaker training that we can teach you how to do that. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that too. I have a formula that we use when you go on podcast or talking. We're going to do that later in the show today. So you're not nervous about it. You know, it is nervous, like, oh my gosh, I got to get in front of people or even go on a podcast. I did coaching twice this week of, you know, we were recommended getting on podcasts. They're like, but I don't know what to say, even though they wrote a book and they had plenty to say in their book. Right. So we want to talk about that. And then really the ideal amount of time when you're getting started, the best amount of time to make a blog is once a month. We don't want you to get overwhelmed. So one time a month, have 12 blogs, right? And you can do it once a month. So that's a great starter kit. And you know, when you say you don't know what to write about, that's what we do with our authors. We go in and we have coaching meetings, consulting about what you should write about from your book, right? It still needs to be from your book, and talk about that content and break that down for you, because that's what you're promoting. You're promoting that message. That is your platform that you've created, whether you're a thought leader or you're using it as really more of a sales tool. So even if it is a sales tool, you're still a thought leader. You're saying your processes and your systems about that. So that's kind of my 2 cents on that. I think that's all I have on that. for
Yeah,
my.
that's really good. So I just put a link in the chat for Linda Paul's website, and she's an author who we just built out her website. And so you can check out her bulk buy page, you can check out her speaker kit and all of that. So you can go and check that out. So now we want to move on to social media. And so Melanie's going to tell us a little bit about social media and why it's important and what, like, I mean, some people don't even know, like, what platform do I even use? Like, what am I supposed to be doing here if I'm an author? Because there's just so much to do with social media.
Oh my gosh, there is. And if you're like me, when I was first trained, I was taught, be everywhere now, right? Be on everything. And Jen and I really were. We were like, okay, we're going to create a podcast. We're going to have a YouTube channel. We're going to do all this stuff. And it was so overwhelming. We didn't know what the heck we were doing, but we dove in with all of our feet, feet, hands, everything. And now we've realized, as we've been around for 8 years and studied this, it's really finding where your people are. You don't have to be overwhelmed and think you have to be everywhere. Find out where your audience hangs out. So, some people's audience, like our author, Donna Peters, she's like, my audience is 100% on LinkedIn. That's the main place that they are, is LinkedIn, and then also on Facebook. So, find out where your audience is. So if your main platform is LinkedIn, then that's where you should be spending most of your time and putting most of your content. What is trending now a lot is Instagram's really big. I just know, there's Instagram, there's TikTok, but TikTok is only videos. Where can you post? I love Facebook and Instagram because it's together when you're posting, and they kind of complement each other. But if your audience isn't there, then, you need to find out who that is. So how do you find out who your audience is? So think about, who is that ideal customer that's going to buy your book? Who is that one person? So you might say, oh, well, all women, 35 to 55, or, men and women who are entrepreneurs that are, 30 to 60 years old. That sounds great, but I'd like you to hone it in to finding that one person and where do they hang out? So we're now in the idea that it can be both, like pick a man and pick a woman, right? So the woman, you may say, well, she's married, she has 2 kids, she lives in the suburbs, she works part-time or has a side hustle that she likes to do. She hangs out with mom groups. So then you're starting to build this profile of where she is and where she hangs out. And same with the man. The man may be, he's, a single guy. He's divorced. He has 1 child. He likes to hunt. He likes to fish. Or he's a sailor. So you're figuring out what they like to do in their free time, where they're hanging out. So that means maybe you're going to be joining some groups, Facebook groups, LinkedIn groups, social media groups, where these people hang out, and you're starting to hang out there yourself. So the biggest mistake I see that people are doing is they just don't show up at all. So when you're checking someone out, Jen, I sent you this link. I don't even know who this guy is. I just typed in LinkedIn author. So I'm so sorry, George, that I'm outing you today. If you see this, I don't even know who you are, but you are in Katy, Texas. So I just typed in author and I scanned through to find someone as an example. So you have to show up. If you don't show up, nobody knows who you are, and they're not going to buy your book. They're not going to buy your product or your services, and they're not going to interact with you. So if you live in a cave today, you cannot live in a cave. You have to be out there. You have to be showing, your face, doing videos, doing that sort of thing, and find out where your audience is. So Jen, I don't know if that LinkedIn will show up and take over our screen, or you just put the link in the chat.
Sure. Let's see.
Will it show up on our screen, or will it just be a link in the chat?
It'll show on the screen. Okay. Can you see that?
All right. Yeah. So check that. Do you want that to be you? So you have to ask yourself, if that's you, then you need help, right? He does have a description in there, but what I'm looking at, there's no picture. Scroll back down, Jen, so you can see, like, there's no picture and there's no banner. There's nothing there, right? So like if you went to mine, I have a picture, I've got a beautiful banner there about our company. So it's really about, on that top page of having someone there. It looks like nobody's home here. So scroll back to the top. I'm really focusing on that top banner.
Okay, I was going to say, he did add publications though, which is good, because I don't know if a lot of people know this, but you can add your book to your LinkedIn profile. So he does have his 2 publications. Looks like he wrote them a long time ago.
So that's what we do when we go in. Like, we would go in and optimize this. We would put a banner and a picture there. We would put a title underneath his name that he's a best-selling author and whatever his business or services are, and make sure like he has links or articles or whatever is going on in there. And then the posts would start to come up and populate of what he's doing there. So it's so important not to be a ghost. This gentleman looks like a ghost. You can take it off now. That's great. Okay. So poor George. I'm sorry, George, I outed you today. So yeah, so you want to make sure that you show up. And what does that mean? So, you know, Melanie, it's so confusing. What do I do? How many times a week should I be doing this? And what's the benefit? So I'm going to be really upfront. People say, well, if I start to show up, am I going to get book sales? And the answer is maybe, maybe not. But the thing is, if you don't show up at all, you're not going to get anything. The thing is starting to build that foundation of you and your brand. So by doing that, you want to do what Jen said is go through your author profiles, really analyze all that, and then start showing up on social media in a consistent way. I mean, I've looked at authors that come to us are like, I don't know where to do. I need help with marketing my book. I'll go on their social media and they posted 6 months ago once, and then 3 months before that, and then 2 months before that. And you're like, well, what is this person doing? So you have to show up on a regular basis. I mean, if you showed up that way for your kids, they'd be like, you'd be a missing parent, right? Yeah. So you have to show up. You have to be there. That person is active. They know you're participating and you're part of the party. So our suggestion is that you post at least 3 times a week and that you're doing that. All right. So that's kind of getting your target audience, figuring out which platforms they're hanging out on, right? And then do that. And, you know, some of the results doesn't necessarily equate into book sales, but might equate into clients or into something else. Mm-hmm. Marilyn Barber, who's an author of ours, she commented on somebody else's Facebook page during the elections a while back. And her book is Dress Like You Mean Business. So that person checked out her social media, realized she was a best-selling author, and looked at that she had been posting and she had been active, and invited her on their ABC TV show to be a commentator for the news, to comment on what the presidential candidates were wearing during the debate and what effect that might have on the audience. So that might not have quantitated into exact book sales, or she might not know how many book sales, but it gave her media attention and gave her that opportunity to expose herself to a bigger audience.
Yeah, I think she actually got clients from that too, because she did fashion consulting. So. Yeah.
And that's what you're looking for, you know, is to get those clients. And we tell people it's about getting the bigger clients, not necessarily about the $2.50 book royalty you're going to get. And Jen and I figured out a lot of our clients are hanging out on YouTube. So now we are doubling down on our YouTube. So that's what you need to do. And then the other part is optimization. So we kind of did that. You have to have a picture, you have to have a banner, you have to have the right keywords. We talked about a bio. I kind of want to circle back, actually. The bio comes in a variety of different places, not just for your Amazon author page. What we do for your bio is we have a bio builder, because people are like, well, I don't know what to put in my bio. And usually they start out, well, I was born in Southern Texas and, you know, in 19, whatever. And we're like, no, people aren't interested in that. I mean, they are, but maybe put that further down in your bio. So think about, part of that secret is, what is the most compelling thing that you want people to read? The first 2 sentences, because sometimes they may only read 2 sentences. You might not get them to read the rest of your bio. Mm-hmm. If you can have those first 2 sentences be the most compelling, you say, if they only read those 2 sentences, they would get me, or they would know what I want them to know about me. And then the rest of and if it's compelling enough, they may read the rest of your bio as well. So you want to make sure that your bio and your description and your social media is on point, right? Mm-hmm. And have a great profile picture, like Jen said. We want it to be colorful. Like, look, I'm wearing this bright color today. It stands out. So we want you to look your best, whatever your color is that looks great for you. And please get professional photos. If not, here's a little tip. You're like, I don't want to do a professional photographer. So I'm going to give you a tip. Take your phone and prop it up so it can see you. Go in your settings and set the phone for a 5-second delay and put it on portrait mode. So you set your camera up, you can stand, and then the camera will take your picture after you're set. You get 5 seconds to do it. and then it will take your picture. And portrait mode is really good. Matter of fact, sometimes I've even liked those better than the professional pictures I've gotten. So try it either way. If you're like, I don't want to, I'd rather put my money on social media or boosting posts or doing something like that versus paying a photographer. That's my little trick that I've done, is use that portrait mode. You can have someone else take the pictures for you, but if you don't have someone else, prop the phone up, put it on a delayed setting, and then take some pictures. And the best part about that is you can delete them. So if you don't like them, all it took you was some time, and then just keep doing it. Figure out what your best side is, what your best angle is, get the best lighting. It's always good to stand with a window in front of you. And if you have a ring lights are great. I'm using one of those today. A ring light gives you really great lighting. So you can use that to make sure you got a good lighting on your face when you're doing it. All right. So make sure you got a great picture and that you update those banners. So the question is, well, Melanie, what do I put on my banner? I always love your book. If you're an author, it's great to have your book, and you can have more than one thing. You can have your book and something about your business could be on there, but don't clutter it. It shouldn't be like, it shouldn't be like you walked into your grandma's closet and there's a bunch of stuff on there. Like you're trying to put as many things as possible on your banner. You just want it to be clean, have one visual, maybe two, and one big heading, right? And keep it simple. So it can be like a book where you can have like a title, right? And then a little subtitle of something there. But, title should be 3 or 4 words, subtitle maybe 4 or 5 words underneath there. That just keeps it simple, right? That's what we're looking for. So those are my tips for, and hashtags. Jen's going to go into hashtags a little later too. But, it used to be have 7 or 8 hashtags. Now they only want 3. So if you want to stay up on that, you just have to keep Googling how many hashtags are relevant, because now it used to be if you didn't have 8 hashtags, you wouldn't get seen. Now, if you have 8 hashtags, they're not going to promote your video or your post. So you only can have 3 hashtags. Kind of crazy, huh? That, they just keep changing on you. So that's kind of the thing of it. So know your audience, know what platforms your audience is hanging on, optimize those 2 platforms, know the keywords and hashtags you should be putting in there, create a great bio, and get a wonderful photo. And Jen says, like she says, have it from the chest up, and wonderful banner for all of your social media pages.
Awesome. Thanks, Melanie. That's so much good content. Yeah, I think the one thing that we know for sure about social media is it's always going to change. So you can be consistent, but just know that all the social media platforms are never going to be consistent. They're going to change on you. So
tell us about the Meta story. I just have to say this. So Jen's been posting, and she had a call. She was ranting to me. She's like, "You think you have it all figured out?" And our social media team's like, "Oh yeah, we got this." And then all of a sudden, it was just like a week or so ago, everything changed.
Yeah. So we've been using Facebook Creator Studio, which is a place where you could schedule posts for a long time. There's other platforms you can use. I mean, back in the day, we used Hootsuite, and then we used Later, and now we've been using Facebook Creator Studio because you can post to Facebook and Instagram there, and it's pretty simple. Well, now Meta has changed it to the Meta Business Suite, which is totally different. Everything is different, and it's very lagging. It's slow. and it's complicated, and it's not very good at video. So you think your video is posting and it's not. So it's very frustrating. It doesn't load. So it's been really hard to navigate and get going. So we have to pivot and say, okay, let's just use Later. We're done with it.
We're figuring it out. And if you can't do it one way, then we go around and figure another solution to it. So that's what I think we're really great at, is we're hitting our heads against the wall, let's find another solution and be innovative to make this all work for us.
Right. And yeah, that's kind of how it is. It's like, okay, you need 10 hashtags. Oh, no, now you only need 3. Or the other thing too is all the verification, right? So, this person's verified. That must mean they have this many followers. Nope, not anymore. Now you can pay to be verified. It's like, what? Yeah. Okay. So now the people who don't know that you can pay to be verified say, this some person's verified. That must mean they're real. No, it just means that they have $40 a month that they can pay to Facebook to be verified. So you have to, they are probably real, but you never know. You got to really do your research now to see if they're real or not. Well, let me get into what to post, because I think that's one of the biggest questions people ask is, what do I post on social media, right? It's like, okay, so now I have my profiles optimized. I know like what I'm doing, but now what do I post? And so this is where our social media team is really good at. And you know what we want to offer you, what we can do for you, or you can go and do it yourself. Is if you're an author, then you need to be posting about your book, right? So guess what's awesome? You've already written your book. So guess what's in your book? Quotes from your book. So you want to get quotes from your book. You want to get tips from your book. You want to have questions from your book, or questions that will help people to lead them to go buy your book, right? Action items from your book. If you have a call to action in the front of your book, which we recommend every author do, that would be something you could post. And then you want to post on at least 3 to 5 times a week. That's what we were telling you earlier. So some people choose to do 5 times, one a day. Some people choose to do 3. If you talk to some of the mentors out there, they tell you to post 5 times a day. So, so it's just kind of, but we prefer consistency. So that's why we choose once a day or 3 times a week. If you don't want to do once a day, if you feel like it's too much in their face. We've had some authors that say, oh, it's just book, 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 book in their face. I'm like, okay, well, maybe we need to change our strategy and not post so many pictures about your book, right? Maybe you need to come on to a reel or a video, right? And talk about your book. We had an author who, because YouTube is part of this too, right? Like it's not just Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and LinkedIn, it's also YouTube. So we had an author who I told him I told him he needed a podcast, and he was like, well, what am I going to do on my podcast? Because I have a fiction book. It's called The Horse Angel. What am I going to do? And I said, well, why don't we have your frequently asked questions about the book, an interview style, and have someone else interview you and ask you the questions about the characters and all the different things of how you wrote the book and the different things. So he did that. He had a professional videographer come and set up the tripod. I think it was actually his son, but anyway, he set it all up. And then he had the interview where they had a nice setting and a little interview setting. And he recorded, I think it was 7 or 8 videos. So he did like 8 questions. It wasn't a ton. And we put them up on a podcast, but we also put them on YouTube. Well, now he gets multiple views still because it's a fiction book. So it's timeless. Like people are going to be going back and reading that book over and over again. And they can see and go to his interviews on YouTube and see, oh, what I want to hear more about this character. Or I want to know more about this author. And so that's kind of like repurposing your content of like what you can post. So there's a lot you can post, not just quotes and tips and pictures of your book. You can actually think about what are the top frequently asked questions that people ask about my book, and put those into videos or put those into posts. And then, of course, you also want to have some hashtags and keyword research first. Don't just say, I'm just going to do book talk because everyone does hashtag book talk. It's like, okay, well, that works on TikTok, but I wouldn't put that on Instagram, right? So you want to put, I think it's actually, is it Instagram? I can't remember the hashtag for books on Instagram. Bookstagram. I don't remember what it is. But you have to research, right? You got to know what hashtags to use. And then I think that's pretty much everything that on posting. Do you guys have any questions on that? Melanie, do you have questions on anything I talked about?
Yeah, I think it's really, I don't know if you're going to dive into having a social media calendar and, kind of explaining some of the platforms and how do you create like, you may tell me to post 3 times a week, but shouldn't I have like some kind of calendar or something that helps me with that?
Yeah, we recommend a calendar. So what we do for our authors is we actually come up with the calendar for the month and then for the year. So you have things for the quarter. And along with that comes holidays, right? Like you don't want to be skipping over Mother's Day, right? So you want to make sure you're not just posting about your book. You actually say Happy Mother's Day or whatever the holiday is that you want to support. And there's some really fun holidays out there too. So what we recommend is you come up with the calendar, or we'll come up with the calendar if you're hiring us to do it. And we'll have exactly what we're going to post each week and have it laid out and created for you. So then you have all the posts created, which is the pictures, right? You have all the text created, which is what you're going to say in the text and hashtags. And then the whole year planned out, right? So you don't have like, you come to the next month and you got to create the content and you're like, what am I going to create now? and then you just come up with something on a whim. No, you have a plan. You have a plan of action. If you don't have a destination or a plan of where you're going, you're never going to get there, right? So we want to make sure we have that plan. So calendar for sure, and planning is really good.
So I'm going to dive into doing podcasts next. And, my background is television. So I started out as a news anchor, and then owned a couple of TV stations and was vice president of Johnson Broadcasting. So I want to give you these tips and tricks and things that you should know about that. But first, I want to talk a little bit about that. Part of this is to give you an offer to help you. So if you would like help, I'm just going to run through real quick before I do the podcasting of what this includes, where if you want to jump on this offer, we are offering the author analysis, where we talked about going through all your profiles, your Amazon author page, your Goodreads page, your book description, your keywords, your subtitle, making sure it's optimized, and looking at your website if you have one. Right. And saying what should be there, what shouldn't be there, or if you don't have one, give you a consulting meeting of what you should have on there and help you to start to create that. And then give you a whole one sheet overview of that. So you know exactly what needs to be done with that. So if you're interested in doing that, and then social media, we know it can just be overwhelming, and who has time to do it? So if you're one of those that you'd rather have our team help you do it, then we're going to have a meeting with you. We're going to go through where your audience is, who your target market is, your demographics, and then we're going to decide where you should post. We're going to create the post for you, and we're going to post on your social media 3 times a week. So doesn't that sound like, oh, I just felt like I just had like a boulder taken off my back that someone's going to do all that for me. We're going to figure out the hashtags. We're going to create a social media calendar for you. We have a whole thing. We have a swipe sheet that explains each social media platform, because sometimes it can be confusing of what you get, what the benefit of each one is. And if you haven't been on a podcast yet, part of our packages, we're going to have you interviewed on our podcast. So we actually have 2. So you can be on our Elite Publishing podcast. And I'm throwing in as a bonus here, Jen doesn't even know, if you're an expert in your field, we'll have you on our Elite Expert podcast as well. So you can get 2 interviews, get those videos, get those audio recordings, and have that as SEO that'll populate, because it's everywhere podcasts are done. And then we're also throwing in as a bonus, we're going to do blogs for you. So where you're thinking of like, oh my gosh, writing a blog, even if I have AI to do it, it's too time consuming. So we're going to kickstart you, get you 12 blogs. They're going to be about 1,500 words a piece. And then we're going to talk about, as I go into the podcasting, we're going to give you a media one sheet is what you need for PR, for media, for getting on podcast, and then a video swipe file. And then if you pay in full today, then you will get a ring light. So you have beautiful lighting like Jen and I do today when you go to do those videos and those podcasts. So let me dive into that for you. And Jen, why don't you put the link up for the offer?
Okay.
So people can see the pricing, and I think we offer a 3 pay on that, and then we'll pull that up in a minute. I don't know.
You can go to elitebestseller.com, Momentum Book Marketing. And then do you want me to share my screen so they can see what the book one sheet looks like?
And then, let's show them what the book one sheet looks like. And then maybe we'll even share the link so they can just see that. And then I want to dive into all my podcasting and on-camera tips and how to get booked on a podcast. So we have a new formula of how to get booked on a podcast, and a formula of what you should be saying and talking about on your podcast.
Okay, it doesn't look like a window. Here we go. I was like, where can I go to find this? Okay, here we go. Can you see that?
There you go. I don't know if you can zoom in on it a little bit.
So I wanted to show the full sheet so they could see. This is the one sheet.
Yeah.
So this is what you print off. Do you want to talk to them about it?
Yeah. So here at the top, at the very top, stay at the top for a second, you're seeing this beautiful visual of the book, right? All the information to order the book. So this can be sent to bookstores, right? Anywhere. If you're trying to get in local bookstores, big box bookstores, there's not many of them these days, but this way they can order it. You can use it as a promotional thing to email bookstores to get in there. Then you have a description of the book. Notice there's bullet points there, right? And there's bold type in there. So I could scan through and see what her book is about. And then you have a bio. And
And
another
then let's look at Linda's as well.
Mm-hmm. And then if you're a speaker, another thing we can add in there are your 2 or 3 speaking topics that you're going to have, or even 1 speaking topic of what you speak on. All right. So that's what that looks like. Isn't that nice to have that created for you and done for you? And then Jen, why don't you throw the link up to the offer so they can just see that before I dive into the podcasting in case they are not seeing it in the chat for some reason.
Yeah, so it's right here on the screen, elitebestseller.com/momentum book marketing. And you can go there and read all about the offer and even get all those bonuses like Melanie just talked about.
Okay, so you can't show it on the screen here. You click
What
on
it looks like?
Yeah,
Sure.
so we can actually see it right here on the screen without them clicking on it themselves.
Sure.
Done for you. It's a done for you thing, so you can see it.
Sure.
Give us a second, and then you'll see it. So start at the top there.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So there you go. I'm going to throw my glasses on for a second so I can see it. So this is kind of what you're getting. So scroll down, Jen. You're going to get the author book analysis. You're going to get the social media analysis and a strategy. And then we're actually going to create the content for you and post for you. And then also included are the bonuses. We're going to do 12 blogs for you. You're going to get a media one sheet like that was, and a swipe file of how to look great on video. And then if you pay in full, you're going to get one of these ring lights. So the value is a $20,000 offer. And it's just a 3 pay of $24.50. And you'll get 6 months of social media.
Awesome.
All right, so let's go back. I'm going to start to dive in on the podcasting. All right, so.
And then we had one question about
the
social media. So Tommy Messenger, I think that's how you say it. They're just saying, they feel kind of weird posting about or promoting their book because it's mostly their friends. Their Facebook is all their friends. Yeah. So I don't know why don't you start and then I'll give my 2 cents on it. What would you tell them?
So my 2 cents on it is you wrote this book and it has something in it that you feel is helpful to other people, right? You want to share your message because it has meaning and it can change people's lives. Even if it's a memoir, even if it's a fiction book, right? There's something about it that's compelling. You're going to entertain people. So I think it's really a mindset thing. You have to say, this is not about me promoting me, buy my stuff, because that's kind of icky, right? You're just saying, buy my book. It's kind of icky. But if you're out there with the mindset of, I want to help you with my content. So as an example, you're giving quotes from your book. You're giving tips from your book. You're giving processes or things that you know are helpful from your book. Then it doesn't feel icky anymore. You might change somebody's life that day just by them reading your post of a quote from your book or a to-do thing. Like Jen says, what are the frequently asked questions that you get from your book? And again, if it's a nonfiction book, that means there's something in there that people are having a problem with that you're solving for them. So when you think about it, like I'm teaching and I'm helping, it's a total different mindset than I'm shoving my book down your face, buy my book. So if you do that, and that's why the posts that we create for you are the quotes, are the frequently asked questions, are the best tips and tricks that you're giving in your book. They're things that are going to motivate people, inspire people, educate people, make them have a better day. And if it's a fiction book, then they're going to be entertained by it, right? And they might want to know more. So there's always value. Otherwise, you wouldn't have written your book unless there was value in it.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest thing. What do you have to add to that, Jen?
Yeah, I was just going to say, if you feel weird about posting, like say on Facebook, because it's just your friends, well, then think about who, like we talked about before, who's the audience, who's your ideal reader. If your friends aren't your ideal reader, then that's not where you should be posting, right? So think about where are those people that are your ideal reader and post there. Maybe they're younger, so they're on TikTok. Maybe they're on LinkedIn because they're business people. Maybe they're on YouTube because YouTube, TikTok, and Reels are the same thing now. So YouTube Shorts, TikTok, and Reels, Instagram Reels, they're all short videos. And so you could do videos on YouTube. Maybe your demographic is on YouTube. So think about who your ideal reader is And if you feel weird about posting it because it's your friends, that's kind of why Facebook created business pages and not just your profile on Facebook. Because on a business page, you're actually an author page. So Facebook has that you're an author. And so then it's normal to be posting about your book because it's your business page, your author page on Facebook, if that makes sense. And then same with Instagram. You can have a personal profile on Instagram, or you can have a business profile on Instagram. So your business or author, they actually have questions where you say, are you a creator? Are you a business? Are you a local business? Are you an online business? Are you an author? It actually has that. Are you a celebrity? Like, it has exactly what are you? And then that's the profile that you create. So that would be my suggestion on those.
Yeah, I think those are great tips. I hope that was helpful. Put yes or no if you thought that was helpful in the comments. That would be awesome. Or if you had another question based on what we just said. All right, are we ready? Let's dive into podcast. Okay, so the first thing you need is a media sheet, like we just showed you, because they're gonna want to know something about you. You can't just say, hey, have me on your podcast, I have a book. So they need to know, they need to see the book. And the other thing that's very helpful when you have a book is if you're a #1 best-selling author. So they're going to tend to have people who are best-selling authors on their podcast versus someone who is not a best-selling author. Just FYI. People say all the time, why is it important to be a bestseller? I don't know that I have to be a bestseller. Well, it's not that important to win the Super Bowl, or, I became Miss Michigan versus I started out as first runner-up. I would rather be Miss Michigan, right? I would rather win the Super Bowl. I'd rather be the state champ than not. It just carries more weight. The Olympic gold medalist gets their picture on the Wheaties box in the day, and the silver medalist doesn't. So it just carries more weight, and it's a title that you'll have forever. So that being said, having a media sheet's really important. So you need to have all that content together. We went over what's on there, all your book information. We even can put on there, like, how many categories you were bestseller in, to have your blurb about your book description. And you saw, like, it has bold, it has bullet points that they can even just scan it. It has your bio in there. And then if you have speaking points, it's always great to put some, like, what you talk about. And it should be things from your book is ideal. So very, very important to have that on there. Okay. Let's go into some of the things you need. You should have a ring light or really good lighting. You should never have a window behind you, right? A window should always be in front of you. So you want the light. Oh, yeah. You should always have the light flooding your face, right? You want the light to flood your face so it looks great. Otherwise, you're dark and they can't really see your expressions and things like that, and it's harder to see. So
so take a look what it looks like without my ring light. And if I turn off my other light that I have on too, because I have two lights on.
Yeah, I have
look how different our videos look.
Yeah, let me turn mine.
You can see the light on top of my head from the light in the room. It just doesn't look good.
That's mine too. And I have a window in front of me, so I'm still like, wow, Jen, you're really a lot darker.
Yeah, it's total difference. And look at the quality of the video is bad too, because there's not enough light on me for the video to capture.
That's a great point. The video quality is not as good. If you're wondering why your video quality doesn't look good, it's probably because you don't have enough lighting. So that's really important. The next is audio. So there's this new secret tool out. So you might be, oh man, do I have to invest in a microphone? That's $200. And then if I need the mixer and blah, 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 blah. And it's great to have all that, but guess what? AI now has these secret tools that you can use. You can use the audio from your computer. And if there's a little bit of buzz in the background or something, you can run it through there and it eliminates all that and makes it sound like you're using a microphone. So there's one called Speechify and Veed, Veedio. So try those out. You can just use the microphone from there and you can run it through there afterwards, or invest in a microphone.
We have a question about being a best-selling author. Let's answer that real quick before we go into some more.
What's the question?
What constitutes being a best-selling author?
Great question. We get that all the time. So being a best-selling author, first of all, the insight is to get as many categories as possible, to be bestseller in more than one category. So it depends on getting in the right categories, right? And like Jen says, you don't want to be in needlepoint if your book's on leadership. So being in the right categories. Amazon, when you're doing the book yourself, Amazon gives you 2 categories. Most hybrid and other traditional publishing houses, because we've worked with them, because they hire us to make their authors bestsellers, are only getting 2 categories. So we go in and we get, I don't know, we had like, what was it, 15 hot new releases, which is different than bestseller, but they were number 1 hot new releases in 15 categories. And then I think we had 8 categories for Kimmy K. Kindle's book that came out last week, and she was in 2 countries. So the idea is, it's like, well, I could have I'm going to use retail here. I could have my book at Target. That's great. Your book is at Target. I love it. But I could have my book at Target, Walmart, Macy's,
Barnes and Noble.
Barnes and Noble, Amazon. I could have my book everywhere books are sold. Wouldn't you rather be in more places? So that's the same thing as categories. So if you're in one category, you're only going to show up during that search for those types of books. But if you're in 7 or 8 categories, your book is going to be found so much more.
In multiple countries, right?
Yes.
I mean, if you have an English book, then your book should be in multiple countries where they speak English, right? So make sure people in Canada know about your book, people in Australia know about your book, people in UK know about your book.
Yep. And then the other thing is, you're getting a title that is your title with your name forever, right? People will introduce you all the time. The lady who started IT Cosmetics, I'm trying to think of her name. Maybe Jen can look it up on the internet while I'm talking about her.
Yeah.
So she started IT Cosmetics. She sold her company for, I think, $1 billion, $1.2 billion she sold her company for. I've seen her speak a couple of times. And, you think they would say the first thing under her title would be founder of IT Cosmetics that sold for $1.2 billion. No, the first thing they say is that she's a best-selling author. So that just goes to show you what the media thinks about best-selling authors. And I think if she was just an author, they may say she's an author, but when you're a best-selling author, it's entirely different.
Yeah, Jamie Kern Lima is her name.
Yes, Jamie Kern. Thank you for reminding me of her name. And she's amazing, by the way. Buy her book. I have her book. It's a great book. And so it just stays with you. So when you're walking it says, hey, enough people thought this book was important and like this book that it became a bestseller, a number 1 bestseller, right? That's what you want. So they'll say, well, how many sales do I need? And some people walk in thinking they're going to get thousands of sales or need 10,000 sales. So to become a Wall Street Journal, USA Today bestseller, if USA Today ever brings their bestseller list back, they canceled that a few months back. Or I should say it went on hiatus. So if you want to become a Wall Street Journal bestselling author, you need about 10,000 books to sell in a week. So we offer that program, Wall Street Journal, USA Today bestseller. For an Amazon bestseller, it's different. So you can pick categories that you might need 10,000 books within 24 hours. You might need 5,000 books. You might need 20,000 books. But what we try to do is pick relevant categories that are in your genre that may need 1,000 books in one day, but then we want to pick categories that maybe only need 100 books in a day.
Or 200.
Or 200, that we can get you over that hump. And some people say, oh, well, I can do that on my own. So we've had the people who've tried to do it on their own, and then they don't do it because there's a certain formula that we use with the algorithms, with the keywords, with the categories. It's multiple layers that you have to have right for it all to happen. And I tell First Baptist Church around the corner from me, we were there and the minister was coming out with his new book, 40,000 members to that church, 40,000 members. He announced to the church for weeks that his book was coming out. The book launched. And I remember it had been out for over a week or so. And he said, I just want to thank everyone for supporting my book and that I'm number 1 And then he paused. He goes, to my family and to my friends, because his book never hit number one. And my sons were elbowing me, Mom, you got to help him. He needs that. How could his book not become number one bestseller when he has 40,000 people in his congregation? So if that tells you anything, you have to have the right people behind you working with you to make sure that that happens.
Mhm.
And then the other benefit is, I use the analogy like a football game. You know, it's like your book is going to score a touchdown on the very first play. So you're spiking all the algorithms, you're getting momentum, you're getting Amazon's attention. Oh, hey, this book, people like it right away. It's out of the gate. So then we use a strategy of getting reviews, keeping that momentum, like with your social media, getting on podcasts, doing these things to keep that momentum going. So then your book keeps getting noticed, versus if you're starting at ground zero, you're like at the bottom of Mount Everest when your book comes out and you're having to climb the mountain every single day trying to get that momentum. And I think that's where a lot of our authors come to us. They're just like, I just feel like I'm not going anywhere and I don't know what to do. And I'm so frustrated. So the combination of having a bestseller program with the marketing and the branding and the momentum of the whole thing kind of is this whole ball that rises up and starts to be like you're starting at the top of the mountain, right? And you're just going to roll up and down these other mountains, but you have that momentum. So I think that's one of the most important things, is having that momentum and having a coach and a team behind you to do that.
Right. Well, the other thing I think with best-selling or bestseller, having your book a bestseller, like you were saying, Melanie, the minister or the guy at the Baptist church,
Yeah.
he didn't hit bestseller. In other words, even though he sold a lot of books, he wasn't in the position for people to notice that he was a bestseller. In other words, nobody took the time to do any like research to find out how many sales and what category in this. So his book never reached a number one bestseller status on Amazon, meaning he was competing with, I think, what did I write down yesterday? We were just talking about how many books are on Amazon. 32.8 million books are published on Amazon right now. 32.8 million.
Wow.
And 52% of those are English, by the way. So that just goes to tell you how many books you're competing against when you're on any platform, right? The reason why you're a bestseller on Wall Street Journal is because Wall Street Journal looks at the books and says, who has sold 10,000 copies this week that is relevant to my list? And then they put that on the list. Like the Wall Street Journal's picking, these are the top books right now being sold. So Amazon's bestseller list says, what are the top books being sold right now in real time? So they try and tell you they want to be relevant right now. So I would say it's usually every hour or every 3 hours. But if you go to Amazon and you click at the bestseller list, they're going to tell you who's selling the most books right now. Tomorrow it might be different because not as many people, that book might not be trending tomorrow. But once you hit that bestseller status, you are a best-selling author forever. Okay. And that's why we as a publishing company want to celebrate that. We want to take screenshots. We want to have social media posts created for you. We want to have a press release created for you. Like we have videos, we do all these different things to celebrate that status of bestseller, so that next time you speak or next time you're giving someone your book, you can say, I'm a best-selling author, because you have proof. You have social proof. You can see on Amazon, you hit bestseller. Now, some people will say, and I'll just be authentic, like Melanie was saying before, some people will say, well, there's so many people that have bestseller on Amazon. No, I don't think so. Not 38 million books are bestsellers. They're just not. And maybe you did only have to sell 250 copies to get that bestseller, but you did that. And it's proven and has screenshots for it. And so you get to celebrate that for the rest of your life. So.
And some authors only sell 250 books the lifetime of their book.
Yeah, that's the average sales of a book. If you look at all books out of those 38 million, that's average. That means most of those books aren't selling that many.
And the points I want to make that you are saying, Jen, so out of 32 million books, like I'm going to use Kimmy K. Kindle's book because we just launched her last week. So I want to use someone really relevant that we just launched.
Yeah.
I believe she hit under 5,000.
Yeah.
It was a number under, so under 5. So like it's 32 million. Your book could be ranked 32 million. Like you're 31 million, blah, 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 out of all the books is where your ranking is. But she was in the 4,000, like 4,500. So she was number 4,500 out of all the 32 million books. That's how popular her book was when it came out. That's huge. We've even had some even, I think, hit under 1,000. So it's,
and our Wall Street journals hit under 100 every time.
Yeah. And then the other thing I think that Jen made a really good point about is, you know, when she was talking about the First Baptist minister here in Houston, is the research. If you're going to go to all the trouble to write this book, this fabulous book that you spent a lot of time on, some people spend years doing it, wouldn't you want to spend that little extra time and energy and effort to do the research, to make sure you've done everything else the right way, make that extra investment that you know it's a bestseller and more people are going to see it and have that exposure and give your book the running start? So I just think that's really important that you said that. So I hope that answered it.
Yeah, and I did want to clarify another thing, because I keep seeing people that will say that their book hit bestseller and then they'll show a screenshot. And on the screenshot on Amazon, they actually have 2 lists. They actually have 3 lists. They have a lot of lists. I would say actually 4. So they have a best-selling Kindle category list.
Yep.
They have a hot new release Kindle category list. Those are 2 separate lists. And I keep seeing screenshots of people that will show their book in the #1 spot for the hot new release list. What that really means is that your book is new and it's selling right now. That's what it means.
And it's only competing with the books that are just launched right now.
They're
It's
also
not
new.
competing with all 32 million. It's only competing
so
with
it's still good. It's good for you to be on that list, and it is good something to celebrate because you have a new release and you're getting sales and you're a hot new release. That's why it's called hot. It's hot right now. These are what's trending. This is what's hot. That's that list. Then they have the bestseller list, which is actually who's selling the most books at this time and which books are bestsellers. So then they have the Kindle bestseller list, and then they have a book bestseller list. And then they also have an audiobook bestseller list because it's different, right? It's different platforms. Yeah. So I just want to clarify that.
All right. So let's dive in back into the podcast. All right. So we have people say, this happened twice last week of coaching that I was doing. All right, what do I talk about on my podcast? I have my book, but what am I supposed to talk about? And Jen and I have a book called Podcast Authorized. So really your book is your podcast is your book. But, when you're being interviewed, I was surprised because I'm like, well, people are going to ask you questions, but they're like, but I don't know what I'm supposed to say or what I'm supposed to do. So here is my formula. Actually, it's a formula that I learned. So from 10X stages. And I really like this formula. So you want to start out that usually they ask you to tell us a little bit about yourself. So tell some kind of heartfelt story where you're showing that you struggled with what you wrote about before too. Like, hey, this is the pain that I have, and now I have the solution and I know how to do it. And then have 3 teaching points. So you don't want to teach about your whole book, right? Pick 3 things that you can teach about. Usually I say pick 1 chapter. So Stedman Graham, Oprah Winfrey's boyfriend, I've seen him speak several times, and every time, twice out of the 3 times, he taught from the same chapter of his book. So he went through and I was like, oh my gosh, this is each section of this chapter that he's teaching on. It was exactly the stories, everything were the same. And I was like, wow, that's exactly what we teach to do. So, pick those 3 talking points that you're going to teach on, no more than that, because otherwise it's overwhelming. Then if you have a call to action, like you want them to sign up for a freebie on your website, or you want them to connect with you, whatever your call to action is, or if you have a product or service you want them to buy, you talk about that as well. And then always remember before you leave to have another heartfelt connecting story that you can connect with them. So it makes it kind of easy. So you're starting with the story, right? And make the story about you. In your book, you can have stories about other people or people that you've heard about, or celebrities that get your point across. But when you're in an interview, you want a story about yourself that makes you real, makes you feel like people can connect with you, that you're not someone untouchable, right? You're like, you could be the person down the street that they know and they could have coffee with. So yes, you're an expert and you've accomplished a lot of stuff, but also you're very real and you understand the struggle. And then the 3 talking points, your call to action, and then also your closing story of something warm and fuzzy that you can leave them with.
I love that formula.
Yeah, I do too. I think it's so simple.
Yeah, straightforward.
Yep. So then the other question we get is, how do you get booked on a podcast? So, all right, this is my new secret formula, and this is something you can do on your own. So all you have to do is go to a thing called Google. If you know Google, just go to Google, and then there's a search bar in there, and you're going to search the description, the type of stage, the niche, and the geography. So let me give you an example. Search for, the description would be the biggest podcast. And then the type of stage might be for financial advisors. And then that would be so the description is the biggest, the type of stage is for podcast, the niche is for financial advisors, and the geography is in Houston, Texas. So it's very easy. So you're thinking the description. So is it, conventions, large conventions, or maybe it's small conventions, about hotel management, that in the city and state that you're in, and then see what comes up. And then you're going to get this list that you can go after and send that media sheet to and contact the planner to get on that stage or that podcast. So that's my new secret formula. It's pretty easy. You just go to Google and do it. Now, the next thing we get is people are like, all right, but how do I show up? So I'm going to give you some tips. Number 1, have good lighting, right? We talked about that. Be in a quiet space. Try not to have interruptions. And I'm going to be really, I'm going to show you the background over here. So I thought I told everyone in my house that, all right, because I do mine in my family room area. I thought I told everyone, okay, like from, 11 to 1, like kind of keep it quiet. And while we were in here, I think my other son didn't get the memo, and he got a big delivery from Amazon today, and he's unpacking it while I'm in here. And I'm like, really? Hello? And I'm hearing this in the background going, I hope nobody else is hearing that. And then I muted for a second. I'm like, hey, here. And so he's like, oh yeah, okay. So, try and find that space where you're not going to have traffic coming in, that you have that quiet space, and that you're not in a place that has echoing, right? So there's not a lot of hard surfaces, and that, so test that out so you don't have echoing.
Yeah. And your background really does matter. We've interviewed someone on our podcast that was in their basement, and there was piles of stuff all over on the couch behind them. Like that. Piles and boxes and tons of stuff. Like it looked like they just moved in or something.
Yes.
And she just had that as her background. And then the video quality was so bad because she had no lighting and she was in her basement. And I think we ended up not using her video at all. We just did the audio, and we just, I don't know what we did on YouTube. We put up some kind of weird picture because we were like, this isn't going to work. That's not going to work.
So this goes back to your brand. We had a little bit of this conversation in the beginning. So, and we're going to want to talk about your brand a little bit. Everything you do represents your brand. So think about, like your brand on social media. When we're going to post for you on social media, is your brand fun? Is it lighthearted? Is it more serious? Is it more corporate? What's the vibe you want to have out of your brand for your business, for your book, for you as an individual? So even the way you dress is your brand, your background is your brand. So Jen and I have, when we do Zoom meetings, we have 3D backgrounds that have our corporate logo on there. I love the one when this was pre-COVID, we had these. So we would show up on Zoom, which not everyone knew how to do Zoom pre-COVID. And they'd be like, oh my gosh, I love your offices. Where are you located in Houston? I'm like, well, I work out of my house. But I had this beautiful corporate background. So all of this says something about you. My background here, it's kind of simple and clean and a little more contemporary. And that's a little bit like my personality. So you want to reflect who you are. And if you don't know who you are, then you need to kind of ask yourself those questions. Who am I? What is my personality? A great friend of mine, Larry Barton, I'm doing a shout out to him. He just became a realtor and he transitioned to his career, and he had to decide, what is my brand as a realtor? Because he had been in corporate for so long. And he decided, he's such a happy guy all the time. And he wakes up singing and whistling. He's one of those kind of guys, right? Every day is a happy day. Every day is a great day. And so he decided he's going to be the inspirational realtor. So think about everything he's putting out as inspirational, trying to make people smile and have a great day. So think about what ties into you and your personal brand. And that's what you want to have on everything that you're doing. So if you're going to be in a dingy basement with boxes behind you, does that represent your brand? And is that what you want to show to people? So number one, have a great looking background. You don't even have to have much. Just be behind a white wall or a plain wall. Have great lighting. Make sure you have good audio, that you're in a quiet place. Another secret I would say, so when I'm sitting here like this is more for the girls than for the guys, but good for the guys too. So when I'm straight across here, this looks good. But if I just tilt a little bit, then I look thinner now, right? All of a sudden I have this angle going on and it just looks so much better. It gives me dimension. It makes this more three-dimensional all the way around. Another thing I see people doing is so right now I'm talking above where I'm seeing my video. I'm talking to that little green light and it looks like I'm talking right to you. I'm having a conversation to you. But if I look down and I'm looking at Jen and I'm looking at me, then it looks like I'm not talking to you and I don't have eye contact with you really, right? So you're like, for some reason, I just didn't connect to her. And I don't know why. Because, if you're talking to someone in person and they don't look you in the eye, number one, you don't feel like you can trust them, right? You feel uncomfortable and you're not sure why. And you just feel like, I don't know, there was something about that interview. What that person was saying was cool, but I don't know, I just didn't feel like I got a good vibe. And part of that vibe is that. The other part, so Jen and I was reminding her, okay, remember, you got to sit up straight, right? So if I'm sitting like this. So if I'm back here, so hunched over. So what does that say to you? If I'm like this, where is my energy falling? So someone usually, if someone's depressed, right, or not confident or not having a great day, usually their voice is a little lower. Their body language is like this. Versus if I'm excited, when you're excited about something and you want to share it with somebody, you're like, oh my gosh, I just had the best birthday party ever. You're usually telling someone you're sitting up straight. Oh my gosh, I got to tell you about this thing. It was so good. I just loved it. It was awesome. Your voice is higher. Your voice is more excited. And look where you're sitting. When you're sitting up like this, that just says that you're engaged, you're interested versus like that, right? So if I talk to you like this, it just says a different message. Again, what do you want your brand to be? Do you want your brand to be more up and upright and have that energy? Do you want it to be more closed off? So also when you're open like this, you look like you're more open. You're open to people. You're open to communication. So my suggestion is please don't be like this when you're doing a video. That's when you're doing a video. All right. I'm open. I'm open to hearing you. I'm open to listening to you. And I am opening to communicating with you. So that's very, very important.
I love that because when we first started doing podcast interviews, you had told me to sit sideways or sit angled.
Yeah.
And it really does make a difference, especially on camera. But it makes a difference when you're in a actual interview setting too, right? That's what they always tell the women, to turn your legs to the side and put your feet together. So cross your legs at your ankles, right? That's why, because you're angled, right? So, and then I wanted to mention, so Melanie was saying she has a nice, simple background. So I actually am in a guest room right now of my home. So it's my office / guest room. Yeah. And so you probably saw when I was switching screens, I have a guest bed in here, but I've put up a folding divider. So I just got it at the, at home or some kind of home store, right? You can get a folding divider. And that's what I have as my background for this video, because right now what we're using is called StreamYard, and they don't have the way to put the backgrounds yet. They might, but I don't know how to do it. They will probably soon, but Zoom has always had a way to put backgrounds on, and you don't even need a green screen. So that's been nice to have those corporate 3D backgrounds. And we've even made those for our clients too. So, but yeah, if you don't have a good background and you do need something behind you to cover up something else, get a folding divider. and they have cool bamboo ones. They have, all different ones. I liked this one because of the colors, and it has pictures of London and Paris on it. So I like that.
She likes to travel.
Thank you.
Does anyone have any other questions about some of the things that we went over? And I want to pull that off again.
We have one question here. Do we vet potential clients? And if so, how do you vet them?
Yes, we do. So we don't work with everybody. Especially for the marketing offer, we're going to offer it just to 10 people only to work with us to do their social media, analyze their author, all of their author analytics and their social media analytics, and do their blog posts for them. So, we like to work with people. First of all, we'll just talk, I hate to say like personality wise, but we want action takers. We want people who are motivated to be successful, motivated to take the next steps and have momentum. We have a new author, Linda Paul, and I just love her because she is always like, hey guys, what about this? And what about that? And, and we're like, yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. So, we like people who are motivated, that part. And we always say we want people who are, their books are inspirational, motivational, or educational, that are going to make the world a better place. So we like to work with people that we want to hang out with. And then, the content has to be good. So sometimes we run across somebody who has a book and their content just isn't in line with our values. So we like people aligned with our values. So we take a look at the manuscript, we take a look at their goals and their aspirations. And really for nonfiction books, we want to have somebody who has a product or service that goes with it. If they don't, we've had times where we've helped them develop that too, to have a plan to develop something to go with that. We do some consulting on that as well. Usually authors start with us by going to our author submission button on our webpage and filling that out. And then we do a first call and see if you're a good fit for us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then for the offer today, we're doing the Momentum Book Marketing Package. So you can check that out at elitebestseller.com. And do you want to review one more time? Should we pull that up?
Yes, pull that up again and we'll review what's in the offer. And also, we're also offering an upsell in here of becoming a best-selling author. So we have a special price if you already have your book out and you want that, new push. So we do this for authors all the time whose book is already out, that will run a bestseller campaign for them. So you can take a look at that too. So let me walk through what is in the package.
Do you see the screen now?
Yeah. So I'm just going to put my glasses on so I can.
First thing is the author book analysis. So that's where we're going to review your current author profiles. If you're an author already, we're going to be going over your author page, your Goodreads page, and then make sure your reviews are good. Make sure you have a good description. Amazon keywords, SEO optimization, and then review your website if you have a website.
Or tell you what you should have on your website. Yeah.
Yeah, or give you suggestions.
And then the social media analysis and strategy, which is really important, having that strategy. So creating social media strategies, getting you on the right platforms, finding your target audience, what your demographics are, optimizing 2 of the platforms that we together decide that you should be on. What are those 2 main ones? Doing the research for the hashtags for you, and then updating your social media, making it look beautiful, having that new bio and book and description and book description, and updating your profile and having a beautiful banner and just making you look current. I know with my house, I had all this furniture from my old house that really didn't go in my new house. And now that I started redecorating it, I just feel so much better. I'm like, oh, it just looks new. It looks fresh. So that's what you should feel like when you go through this with us. And then we're going to post for you 3 times a week, and we'll create all those posts for you. You're going to get a social media calendar. We're going to have social media explained to you. You're going to get this great PDF that explains everything for you, as well as hashtags. A big thing I think is you're going to be on our podcast, and I threw in not just 1 podcast, 2 podcasts. So how would you like to be on 2 podcasts? We get a lot of downloads, and we also put it on YouTube as well. And then we're going to post about your book on our social media platforms. And I think we have like over 50,000 people, followers. And how would you like to have some blogs done for you about your book? You don't even have to think about it. We're going to create them, edit them, get them all done for you. They'll be around 1,500 words. And then to get booked on those other podcasts, you're going to need that media one sheet. And if you want to get media attention, so we're going to create this beautiful one sheet for you. And then everything I went over today real quick about how you should look on camera, we have a swipe file for you. So you have all of that. And then if you decide to pay for this in full, you're going to get one of these ring lights. So you know you'll look great on camera. You will get that. So normally this whole package, we don't even offer this whole package together normally. So this is like a $20,000 value. We're really doing it at half off. And you can get started for $24.50 today. And then there's just 3 payments. So we're going to post for you for 6 months. And then you're going to get the blog post. You're going to get the analysis. You're going to get all of that. So you can just hit that checkout button, look at the offer, and then just sign up. And we'll set your first meeting for next week and get started with doing your author analysis and your social media analysis and get your book trending. And you're going to feel so much better about your brand and having this foundation of social media. So we would love to work with you. We hope you're a good fit for us. And if you want to do a bestseller campaign, reach out to us. We do have that as an upsell on here. But if you're feeling that, oh gosh, I don't need the social media right now, I just need the bestseller, you can do that too. But to have both of those together is super duper powerful. Very powerful to raise it all up and have that consistency. Dr. Laura Murillo, she is the president of the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. When we were doing her social media, she's like, I just love the brand that you created for me and the look and feel that you created for me. It's such a great vibe. So that's what we like to do, because your success is our success. And that's what makes us happy.
Yes. So you can visit elitebestseller.com /momentum book marketing to get that offer. And if you wanted to just work with us on the bestseller campaign, you can go to eliteonlinepublishing.com and hit the author submission button in the top right-hand corner.
Yeah. So does anyone have any other questions, anything else that we can answer? If not, we're going to wrap it up, and we hope to see you soon and that you're one of the 10 people that we're going to work with.
Yes, and you can always put in the comments later if you're watching this after the live stream. You can put in the comments and we'll do our best to add the answers to your questions there. Fumbling my
come out, yeah. We've talked so much that our mouth's not working very good.
Answer your questions. For sure, we'll answer them.
Well, our biggest hope is that this was really valuable for you, that you got a lot of notes, that you felt like you learned something, whether you do it yourself or you work with us. You know, like I say, your success is our success. That if you take this information and you use it and it helps propel your book and your brand and your future, that helps other people. Right? It's about giving back. You know, at the end of the day, it's what you give back to everybody else that makes a big difference. So we hope this is a great way for you to learn and be able to spread your message so other people can learn and grow from it. So have a great week, everybody. We hope that we see you next time. And if you have any other questions, just always reach out to us at eliteonlinepublishing.com. Someone will get back to you. It might even be Jen and I. You just never know. And we would love to work with you. Hit that button, sign up for our momentum marketing package, really get your brand going, take that boulder off your back so you don't have to feel like you have so much pressure and trying to figure all this out anymore. Because I know it can be overwhelming. I know it can seem like it's just so hard and you don't have enough time to do it, to figure it out. And then sometimes you feel like, oh my gosh, I'm doing it, but now it's all changed. And I don't know what to do again. It's why is my stuff not showing? Well, don't worry. We're on top of it every day. So we can do it for you. So we'd love to have you join us and be part of the Elite Online Publishing family, because once you're part of our family, you're always part of our family. We're always in connection with you and reaching out. I just talked to Josh Evans, who was one of our very first authors. I just had a conversation with him the other day, checking in. Hey, what can we do for you? What's going on? Let me tell you what's new over here. How can we help and serve you? And just checking in. So we do that periodically. Once you become a member of the Elite Online Publishing family, you are a family member for life, right? You don't get to pick your real family members, but you can pick your extended family members. So that's how we feel about all of our authors.
Well, and speaking of family members, Gary Bowen's one of our authors, and he's also my 5th cousin. So that's always fun too. We found that out. We're really close. We have the same ancestors.
I don't think you knew that when he hired us. It was after.
No, we didn't know that until after. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And we have another story like that. So one of our authors, Anita Henderson, turned out her husband was a cousin too, Rodney.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Roynell Young.
Roynell Young, yes. So Roynell Young is working with one of our ghostwriters, and her husband, our ghostwriter's husband, is a genealogist, and the Roynell Young was from New Orleans, and Anita's husband was from New Orleans, and they did some research, and they were like fifth cousins or something, or third cousins. They had the same great grandmother. And they both had met her, the great grandmother. So you just never know. So not only family, like actually blood family turned out that we had some connections.
Right. Awesome. Well, thank you. Visit our website for more information. And of course, you can always reach out to us on Facebook or YouTube.
So go get them. Have a great day. Go after your marketing, go after your branding, and we're always here to support you. See you next time.
Have a great weekend.